What's going on, guys? My name is Everett DeLorme, and welcome to another episode of Pepper with Everett. In today's episode, I talked to Zaksa and U.S. men's national team setter Quinn Isaacson. Quinn has had a very interesting journey through the volleyball world, from Ball State in the NCAA to playing in France and now into Poland. It is a really interesting conversation you're going to want to check out. We talk about everything from his early season start with Zaksa, playing in one of the best volleyball countries in the world, in Poland, his crazy journey through volleyball, and even a little bit of NFL. So make sure to check it out. This was a conversation that was recorded on Friday, November 21st, just to give you a little bit of context of when in the season this conversation took place. Check it out, and I hope you guys enjoy just as much as I did.
First and foremost, Quinn Isaacson, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Just got done with practice. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks. I actually just recorded another episode of the podcast with Key Michael, the commentator for VBTV. So she says hi. By the way, that's why I'm kind of a little late. I just hung up with her, went to the bathroom real quick, and came to chat with you. But I'm just gonna kind of jump right into it. You are playing for Zaksa this season in the Plusliga. And we're 6 matches into the league. You guys went 0-3 to start the year, and now you're one of the hottest teams in the Plusliga, going 3-0 with some pretty nice wins under your belt. Just before I did the intro here, you talked about your journey. I definitely want to talk about your journey, starting at Ball State, then to France, where you played for what people kind of view as like a lower level club in France, helped them move all the way up to the league, qualify for the Champions League. Then you jumped over to the Plusliga last year for the first time, playing for Norwich Czestochowa, where that was a team that was expected to be in the relegation race. And then they went all the way to the playoffs. You guys finished 6th in the regular season last year. And now you're playing for, a team or a club that's won 3 Champions Leagues recently. And sure, they're going through a lot of change, but it seems like you're moving up in the world, and this season didn't start real good for your Zaksa team, but 3 wins in a row recently, including just more recently on Wednesday, taking down previously undefeated Resovia in a crazy 5-set match. What's it been like for you over there in Poland, and a bit of a whirlwind season already, only 6 matches in?
Yeah, it's been great. The team and the club has been really accepting of me. Every time you change a new team, especially for a foreigner, sometimes it's a little bit different experiences. But it's been great. Like you said, those first 3 games, we actually weren't disappointed with how we played. You want to win every game you can, but first game, going to Lublin, the reigning champions, on the road, not an easy thing to do. And we were able to go to tiebreak and get a point. And then second match against Everett. Played a good first set, loss, and then we were really in control of the second set, and then I had an injury later in that set. So
it's a bit of a scary moment there. I won't lie.
Yeah, we were lucky. We were lucky that it was more the contact. There's just this little opening of the pole, and that my knee just collided with, and it kind of twisted. We're lucky that it wasn't anything tendon or ligament issue. It was more about the actual bone, on if it was a fracture or just like a bone bruise, basically. So that was a game that, we were playing really well, and no matter who gets hurt, it's going to change a little bit of feeling, because then our first outside got hurt also in that game. So it was, all in all, we played good volleyball. It was just a weird situation. And then the third game against Belhato, another great team, was a weird situation. I was coming back, wasn't 100%. I was supposed to be used in different situations, but still played good volleyball and went to the tiebreak. That's another loss, So the fourth match against Ustrembia finally felt like a breath. We were relieved a little bit. Everyone was healthy, back to square one, and I think you're starting to see a little bit more of what our team can produce. But that's the name of the game. You're going to have injuries. You're going to have weird situations. The game after Resovia, our number 1 middle was unable to make the trip due to an injury, so we went with our third middle, and he played a fantastic game, and we found a way to get a win. So that's been the real big important thing that Coach Gianni talked to us. It's like, hey, we might have different guys. That doesn't change our goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, speaking of different guys, this Zaksa team has gone through a lot of change. And, in the past 5 or so years, they've been one of the best teams in the Plusliga, hell, one of the best teams in volleyball, winning 3 Champions Leagues in a row. But a lot have changed over this year. Losing guys like, Eric Shoji, who's been there for years. You're stepping into the shoes of Marcin Janusz, who is the national team setter for Poland and widely viewed as the best setter in Poland. That's a lot of change and some big shoes to fill. What was kind of the message from Gianni early on, as you know, you guys are taking into this new step this new step and this new era of Zaksa volleyball?
Yeah, I think he gave me a lot of confidence. When I first got there, we actually had a little bit of a talk, and he was just telling me that he liked my game at Czestochowa, he liked my game with the national team, and he just wants me to be me, which was really nice to hear. You don't always hear that as a player. You know, usually the first thing coach wants you to do is have critiques and stuff, which sure he has, but the first thing he said, he wants me to be myself. He said that's something that I've done in my career. Kind of, like you said, I found ways to get some wins, reach some moments, and also, you know, kind of bring the level of the team maybe a little bit higher than expected. So he got me very comfortable, which is a good place to be. And he actually wants me with the kind of different. He wants me to be more aggressive, find more run the middle from off ball. You know, find some things out of the comfort zone so we know where we're at, and then we see. You know, it's like, and it's funny because every time I hear the talk about it, it sounds exactly what I want. What's happening now? You got PDP and Wizard doing all this cool crazy stuff. You're like, tired. You're like, the only way we're gonna know if you do it is, you know, keep practicing. So I do have a lot of freedom to switch a lot easier for you to transition into this and continue to try to build the reputation with that.
I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that, because your connection with the middles has been pretty crazy this year. I mean, what, like Urbanovic was 11 for 13 in the last match against Resovia. Just out there kidding it. Was it Usovic who went like 11 for 11 for you guys in the match before? It seems like you've been the most comfortable. Yeah, it was 11 for 11 against Lviv. It seems like you've been the most comfortable running the middles recently.
Yeah. It's something I've been doing since college. We had some strong middle blockers at Ball State. It's same thing there. They kind of give me a lot of freedom to work on throwing the ball into the middle of the court. And then if you go look at that group, we had it planned. I mean, looking at the blockers are, you know, yeah. So that made my life easy. That was something I was really comfortable with. And that's also something that we had with Brawl, and now we have Archie. Like, we want to dominate the middle of the court. And when you dominate the middle of the court, you just bring everyone in, and then you work them back up. So it's something I've been comfortable with. And when I have the attackers to do it, it makes my life a lot easier. That's comfortable for me to do. So we got guys that are good.
Yeah, I mean, in France, you had Helder Spencer. If you guys don't know, he's this big beast of a lefty middle, who it seems like he's a lot of fun to play with. And then Schnitzer was your other starting middle there. Yeah. Canadian fans will be well aware of George Schnitzer, former Trinity Western Spartan and Maple Volley athlete. What is it about running the middle that you're so comfortable with? Is it just, you know, because it's generally the taller setters who are really good at running the middles, right? That connection is just like guys are eating right out of their hands. You can just kind of dish it up for them. But you're a smaller guy, but you seem to be able to run, you know, be able to sling it to them quite easily.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just, you have more time, obviously, in a good reception. I kind of look at the block, and I just know, and you get comfortable. It's a lot of practice to be fair. We've been working at, like, every team, that's the one thing I always charge for our coach. We need a lot of reps, because all I'm sweeping on the other side is there a help blocker, is there not a help blocker, or the hand blow, or the committing, and all I'm doing is looking at, once I decide this is where I'm over, I can kind of let my hand. So I think that's one of the main things is obviously repetition, but it's like I said, it's something I've done for so long. It's just possible to me, but like I said, it's repetition and repetition. So if you go at Elder Fester, there was actually, I had a question the other day, is there a center that you can tell with your eye, 2 weeks to one guy I brought up? But you can ask him the amount of reps that we had for those 2 years and like staying after tactics and just working on different type of situations. When you get to that second half of that peak, you don't even think about it. You just really the ball anything. That second half, because I knew where he was at all the time. You have this comfortability. It really.
I think, you know, I was also a setter back in the day. Never to your level, though. I would never ever, you know, say that. But I thought that, you know, one of the most fun times is just, you know, the open gym. You're working with a few guys, and you're just hitting balls, and you're getting to know just the tempo of where they want it, where in their window they can get it, how they run the different routes, you know, what they look like in the different routes, their timing on different positions. And, you know, I feel like so many people view the setting position as a video game where, you know, you just put it there and people swing away. But how different is it, you know, when it, you know, like when you don't have one of your starters, like when you played against Resovia, you didn't have Vucevic, you have another guy in, and then all of a sudden your style has to change altogether, and your delivery has to change so much.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I think is one big part of my game that I think is really important for setters. I know some guys would do it different, but I scout a ton. I try and watch as much as I can of, okay, when I'm first playing, how do they set up? When the middle's tight or middle's away? So I have a whole sheet that I usually go through on the back list and report on everything I can study with their block defense. And I just try to tailor it to our spec. So if I go a guy better at, a 7 than he is K1, then how can I get him in the best situation and try and set that up? But obviously, Conrad came in, and it was one of those situations where you don't know how they're going to react to defense. It's a guy that they haven't seen that video as much. And, sometimes you think, okay, maybe they won't jump with these haircuts. So I just try to, in that case, I was just teaming the ball. And you're going to have to start jumping with him at some point. We said, this isn't a guy that we're just developing. He's a very good player that he's not going to bet. But it's I think it's a tough thing, and the way I look at it. It's find different things. Defense will try to anything at you. And it's just kind of trying to stick to what you do, but also mixing some stuff to go that hot part. And then do it to hopefully 3 steps, probably 5 steps. How Zaksa is going right back.
I mean, you talk about that chess game, but how much are you aware about spreading that ball around evenly? If we're taking your Resovia match on Wednesday, for example, all 5 of your hitters are out there in double digits. Conrad, like collectively, your team was 19 for 23 down the middle, which is absolutely insane with no errors out there. So you've got an 80+ efficiency down the middle. But, especially with this Zaksa team, because, early on, you had a lot of you've had good production out of Kamil Vrčlicki. We all know he's arguably one of the best opposites in the world, definitely a top 10 opposite in the world. He's had a lot of production earlier on, but maybe not as much production from your left sides and middles. And now it seems to be that you're just making a PB&J out there and just spreading that offense crust to crust.
Yeah. I think it was just time, really. It's like I got there maybe 3 weeks before game 1, which maybe to some people sounds like a lot of time, and really it's not, because a lot of these guys who have the time to be there, I think if I'm not mistaken, Zaksa started training August 10th, so I missed 2 months of their preseason, and I know Camille did the same thing, and Shimon did the same thing that some of the National guys did. But it's important, I think, to have them keep a distribution. There will be games, though, that if they're really trying to stop Camille, we're just going to go the other way until you loosen up on him, even though I think Camille could score just as efficiently. But I need them to know that if you're going to put all this attention on this guy, we've got so many other guys who can score. So, and then once you get everyone on the same page, you just make the best decision in the moment, and you trust their guys to go off and score the ball.
How much, is that trust just building so much within your team? Like this year, it seems like the Plusliga is messy. Like there's so many teams going on. Your former team Norvid is only got 1 win. They're 1-5, but we know with their roster they could pop off at any point. Lviv, who barely missed out on relegation last year, is 2-3, and you just went toe to toe with them last week, and they're looking deadly with a bunch of How important is it to be on the same page and connected with your guys, especially in the Plusliga right now? That is, in my opinion, is the most entertaining league in the world, because you honestly have no idea what's going to happen night in, night out.
Yeah. I think it's really important. That's one thing we've kind of talked about is point for point, no matter how they come, and you can always reflect after the match, say, hey, we could have been better here, or hey, we could have been better here. But points are points, and that's huge in this league. It's you just, like you said, anyone can beat anyone on any night, and you can find ways each match just to find a point 2 or then hopefully 3. You'll have the best situation as you get to the end of the season of where you're shaping out in the playoffs, because just wait for when we get there. That could be, obviously teams will start to settle in, but I think the level is so tight that it's just going to be a very exciting playoff run for all teams.
Yeah. It seems like you just kind of take everything in stride. Not only you come from the NCAA to the French league, and you're playing at Ball State. Ball State's in the MIVA?
Yep.
Ball State's in the MIVA, so, not the strongest conference in the NCAA. You go to play for the French league, and then you're moving from the French league to the Polish league, which is, the French league is maybe a tier 2 league in the world. The Polish league is a tier 1 league. It's arguably the best league in the world. How have you been able to, take those steps in stride and have success pretty much everywhere?
Well, obviously at Ball State it didn't start like that. You have to, I feel like you have to learn how to lose before you can learn how to win a little bit. So we kind of went through those phases my first couple of years, but honestly for me, kind of like you said, you kind of take it, team by team and week by week. And I think the one thing, and this is the one thing that Cart just kind of told me is one of the things that really helped me is I find ways to really take bursts and make them teams, if that makes sense. I've found ways, even being a forward, I think sometimes it's difficult to do. I've found ways to really gel a team together where, maybe we're not the highest payroll, we don't have the best players, but you're going to have to fight us for every point, and I think it's just like being on the other side of that, because obviously everyone's played against you like that, but it's just like, gosh, each set, it's like, oh, we're up by 4, boom, you lose. It's like those teams are so hard to beat, and I think the one thing I've done is just try and get the whole team on the same page and make like a little family out of it stuff, because there's so much change each team year to year, so in a year, in a couple months, how much can you gel this team together where you're willing to fight for every person on the court, every person on the bench, and the staff sitting there, and I think I found ways just with I guess I don't even know. That's one thing when Parch asked me this summer. I don't even know how I've been able to have this effect with some of the players, but I just try and understand, respect all the guys, and anytime they need something, I'm here for them, and then put that team together and go on the court and try and beat us, because it's hard to beat a team that, will give everything they can for everyone around.
That is interesting, because especially with the Zaksa team, you've got, like I said, a lot of turnover, but you still have a good number of guys who have been there for a little bit. Both of your left sides, Shimura and Gabelny, have been there for a little bit. Down the middle as well with Urbanovic. Rechko, your backup opposite, has been there for a number of years now too. And yet you guys have been able to come together. Is there one thing, do you like hosting parties at your place? Is it just in those moments of training afterwards? Do you guys have nights out? Is there one thing that is your your go-to that you've seen has been a pattern, from Ball State to France and Norvid to now that you've done continuously?
I think it's, like you said, I think it's just more team events, to be honest with you. Some of them are always different with each team. Like in Chesterhova, we did dinners. We did some dinners often. In St. Nazaire, we host a lot of people because me and Hensing lived in the same house. So we would host a lot of people over a lot. And then actually on Wednesday, the whole team's coming here for Thanksgiving. My wife and some of the other girlfriends' wives are preparing a Thanksgiving. So we play Gdansk on Monday. Okay. Tuesday we'll have off, and then Wednesday we have a training, and then after the guys are going to come over and do a Thanksgiving. So I think those little things, they just, in my opinion, they go a long way. And it just, when you can hang out and gel away from the court, it's a different experience, a different feeling. You don't have to talk about volleyball, and I think that's how you build those connections.
What's on the menu here for Thanksgiving? What are we looking at? Is it going to be straight up American Thanksgiving, or are you going to add some borscht and some pierogies and some Polish stuff out there?
I think right now our plan is, because they're coming over, they want to bring a bunch of stuff. We're trying to tell them, hey, you just bring yourself, so maybe bring some dessert. So I think right now our plan is to be very American. I think it's going to be turkey, mashed potatoes and gravy, corn, mac and cheese, green bean casserole, stuffing, some bread. I think some of the guys might bring some salads and some other cookies and stuff. And we're just going to make a little night out of it. And it's, like I said, it's not being together just away from the court. It's nice to have it, And we do a lot with this team too. We do a lot of just randomly, we'll just do some pizza after the practice. Just some pizzas are laid out. We can hang out, spend an extra 30 minutes with each other where it's not rushing to the physio or rushing to the shower. Then it's nice to have, just take some time with each other.
And I mean, obviously, a staple of Thanksgiving or American Thanksgiving is football, but there won't be any NFL football on a Tuesday. But there is a couple of Plus Liga matches that night. Skra against Jastrzębski, and then Zawiercie against Barkum Lviv. You guys gonna be watching those? You throw those on the TV and kind of sit there and watch them?
Oh, for sure. I don't think they would let me not turn it on the TV. we have a TV in our locker room, and if there's a game on, it will always be on that TV. So it'll for sure be on. We'll be watching. We'll be hanging, but we'll also be watching the background.
What is the level of I was literally just talking about this with Key, and it seems to me like, in my opinion, one of the reasons why the Plus Liga is the most entertaining league in the world is because every match, like there's only ever one match going on at a time, right? And you can actually watch every single match. So what is the attention level of, the other players in the league in terms of when the other matches are on? And what have you noticed kind of from the fans of when matches are on? Like, how dialed in are people in Poland to Plus Liga volleyball?
I think the fans are very, very dialed in. From what I know, like I know that last season we'd have some games where I know we had 1 or 2 games last year that was sold out. I think we had like 10,000 people there, and like some people weren't able to go in. They're like, "Oh, don't worry, it'll be on everyone's TV at every bar, Chester over at every restaurant." So I think the fans tune in a ton. The players, I think it's player to player. Like some of us, like I have volumetric, so if I miss the game, if I really want to watch it, I can scroll through it a lot faster because it's just like the NFL. You can watch the 3-hour game, or after there's usually a 30-minute, you can see snap. But I think our team watches almost every match, like individually, sometimes together. But I don't know, sometimes it's good to see, like, especially if you're going against that team later in the week, it's sometimes nice to see it live, like just emotion, reaction, tempo of the game. And you can kind of see, oh, that's interesting. And you can think about it when you're on them throughout the week.
I mean, like, especially like when you're watching it on Volumetric. So I think you guys also use like Perfbook in Poland. It's got that baseline angle. So it's way more technical as opposed to the sidelines. So you're watching, what are the gaps like on this set? What is the spacing like? How fast is this offense actually running? But it doesn't capture the feelings and the emotion and the ups and downs of the game like the broadcast does, and especially like I find that the Polish broadcasts are so much fun to watch because you can actually feel the emotion like through the commentators and stuff like that. On VBTV, you don't have commentators at all. It's just the arena sound. But I do have a bit of a fire stick, so I watch it illegally here in Canada on Polsat.
Nice.
And it just adds like it's such a good vibe and a good atmosphere that you're getting from these Plus Liga matches.
Yeah. I mean, even the crowd here in Kędzierzyn, the crowd we had last year in Czestochowa, I mean, it's like even the last match we had in or the first match we had in Lublin. I mean, that place was a rock. I mean, obviously they did the whole ceremony and everything, which is cool, but it was rock, and it's funny because I feel like as I've started to experience those type of crowds, obviously you don't see that as much in NCAA, it's obviously in the MIVA, but in France I started to see it a little bit. In the national team I saw it a lot, and then now in Poland it's like you're nervous, then you see it, you're like, this is what you dreamed of being a kid. And like this is, you wanted people watching it. So now it's like, all right, well, I've got 10,000 people who don't want me to win. Let's just go try and prove them wrong.
When like you just mentioned it, like watching when you were a kid, when did that start being a reality to you? When did that start being a dream of yours? Because in volleyball, we don't grow up watching the sport in the same way. We don't grow up creating heroes. We don't grow up watching sport. It's something that we start playing because it's fun. When did that kind of click for you? Feel like, hey, I could play professionally. I could go to the next level. I could make this a living.
It's funny you say that because I would probably stay in my 5th year of college.
Late, eh?
Yeah, I never, like when I was in high school, I didn't really, like you said, I didn't watch it very much. Like I knew, like I obviously Team USA, but I didn't like watch Team USA very often. I didn't really know much about it. So I was like, at that point it was like, I think I'm good enough to play college. I think I want to play college, and then I got the opportunity at Ball State. And then through those 4 years, same thing. Like when the Olympics obviously was on, I turned it on, but like, I didn't really know what like DNL was. I didn't know a lot of these tournament stuff. So I didn't plan on playing professional until my 5th year, which is one of the unique stories because I was actually trying to go be a volunteer assistant coach at the University of Kentucky under Craig Skinner.
No way.
Yeah. So I was, in the beginning of my 5th season, I had, my coach was like, hey, do you have any aspirations to play pro? And I'm like, I don't even know if I'm good enough to play pro. I don't know anything about pro. My opposite was Agos Mendelairos, who was from Greece, so he had a lot more experience, obviously, over there. And I took like a week or two thinking about it. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to play pro. I don't have really any big dream of it, but I just don't know if I'm going to go over there and waste a year when I can get into a college gym right now, start coaching, and really get that experience. And then the 5th year obviously was a lot different than the first 4 years. I think going into that final or the MIVA tour, we were like 22-2 maybe. I think we had 2 or maybe 3 losses, and There was talk about ball. It was cool. It was like the first time we've really been on the map in a long time. And the season was getting close. We were getting ready for the Final Four. And I still remember the call from my coach. And he was like, Farah has reached out about you for the national team. And I was like, me? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, cool. And he's like, he wants you to be on the VNL. My response was, I was like, what's the VNL? Like, I don't know what the VNL is. He was like, really? I'm like, coach, I don't know really anything about this, like pro national. He's like, VNL is like Matt Anderson and Micah Christie. I was like, oh, all right, I know that team. It's like, I think I know that team. And then I got on the phone with, I think it was First Rigger maybe, or I don't know if it's blah, but they were like, are you playing pro? And I'm like, I wasn't playing either. Like, well, you got to play pro. You're going to be in the national team. And I'm like, okay, give me a day to think about it. And I actually, to this day, still think Craig Skinner, because I called him and I was like, I got this opportunity. If you want me to, like, I accepted the position with you guys. If you want me to commit to that, 100%, I'll drop this whole thing and I'll come to Kentucky. He was like, this is a, one in a lifetime experience. He's like, you go, it's no problem. And that gave me a lot more freedom to be like, okay, all right, I'll do it. And then finish the season. And then that's when I started reaching out to other teams. When Kędzierzyn came through, and obviously it's kind of taken off since then. So I still thank him to this day, but I did promise him that whenever I'm done, he will be my first call. So he does know that.
I feel like now when you call, I don't think you're going to be a volunteer assistant anymore. I'm just putting that out there. I think your pedigree of what you've done, that's wild. But I do think that that's also not too uncommon in terms of volleyball in general. I was just having a conversation where I think in volleyball we have, in every other sport in the world, we grow up watching, whether it's American football or basketball or hockey. Like, you're an Illinois guy, so you must have watched some hockey back in the day. Where everyone's got, like, you've got fans, then you've got players. In volleyball, you've got players and then you've got fans. And it's one of the big disconnects that people don't really know, that these things are available out there. And now, fast forward 4 years, you're playing on TV in front of 10,000 fans in Poland. Do you ever like have to pinch yourself and be like, holy shit, like, this is where I am now?
A little bit. I think I do it every so often, but honestly, I think I have that experience a little bit more when I'm with the national team. I think when I got to play this summer at home in Chicago against Poland, I think that was like a so good all in moment, because that was pretty cool. But then you're the first one, so you got to lock right back in, But I think every so often it happens. But also, I think I try not to think about it, because it's like I still have things I want to see now that I'm here, So it's like it's cool. It's an honor to be able to do this thing. But there's more things I want to go after. There's more goals I want to obtain. So it's awesome. But you still got work to do.
So it's you're not going to be leaving this pro life anytime soon, it sounds like, or leaving the national team anytime soon. It sounds like they've got you whether they want it or not.
Yeah, I think so. I think as the kind of like you said, as I've kind of taken the steps, it's worked in the right direction, and that's what some of the guys were telling me like early, because there's so many guys from America. I feel like they go overseas for 1 year and they don't love it, they don't like it, and then they call it. And for me, I was kind of on the fence about it. I was like, well, I'll get the experience of the national gym, and then I'll go. If it goes bad, I'll quit and I'll start coaching. And then obviously we went to the playoffs. I'm like, all right, well, that's it was good. Let's try it again. And then we won the championship, and I'm like, all right, let's keep going now. Then we got the opportunity with Poland, same kind of thing, made the playoffs. I'm like, well, there's no point in stopping now. And then I got the opportunity with Zaksa, and I was like, yeah, I think we're pretty locked into this now.
Because like when you went to Saint-Nazaire, they were coming up from League B. And this is a team who's traditionally just been up and down between like Liga and League B, where they're just up and down, back and forth throughout the entire time. And it's always kind of one of those teams that they get relegated and they drop back down. They get relegated and then they make their way back up. You come in first year, they get their best result at 6th in the league, and then the next year you go out there and you go and get a first and help them qualify for the Champions League. So, like, I mean, you guys did have a pretty stacked roster. As you mentioned, Kyle Densing was on that team. You also had Jordan Ewart on that team, who had a really big year that year. Helder Spencer, Jordan Schnitzer down the middle. Maltins and so the Portuguese outside. But what was it about? Because I'm just going to point out that this team finished 12th last year without you guys out there. So what was it that you were able to bring to that team?
I think a different idea, kind of like we talked about a little bit of the offensive side of it. Me and Ensign got a really good connection that year, and you were too, obviously bringing guys that you set every day, and then having Spencer as well. It was, and Lorenzo. It was like we brought a lot of pieces back, and the guys we added, I set recently. Jordan was that summer working with him, and then Schnitzer was the newer face to the attacking group. But like I said, the middles are usually somewhat easier for me. So, and I talked to Worsley.
Especially with Schnitz, too, because Schnitz is just like, he just skies. You just toss it up there, and he's going to float and grab it.
And he's so smart, too, because it's like, when you have a guy that, you make the wrong read, you don't think they're committing, they commit, he's not just going to swing blindly. He's got a way to, he gets the ball back, puts them in a fast position. So when you have that freedom, too, it's like, all right, I made the wrong read, and they know they can bail you out. Like, all right, this is easy. So, I think the offense really got flowing, and we were able to establish the middle of the court, kind of like we talked about. But I think one of the key pieces to that team that doesn't get enough credit would be our coach, Rubinho. Rubinho was, he was the man. He led it to us, and he had this philosophy, which I think really came into. I had one of those. I've never had this moment as a volleyball player where everything clicked for a second, but it was. His idea was, we're going to work every day. We're going to work every day. You'll have your off days. So every day that, we're tired, we're going to go and get some touches on the ball. And his idea of it was, we're going to practice when we're tired. So when we get to the end of the year and we get to that championship game, you're going to look across the net, and we're going to be the ones in shape, and they're going to be the ones that are in power. That was his whole idea. And he said it all the way through that season. And I remember getting into that championship game. We're playing 4. We won the first match at home. At the second match, we lose in 5. To create the golden set. And I remember the golden set, we switched sides at like 8-7 maybe. And I remember looking across and being like, they are gassed. I'm like, they're gassed. And I looked at our team, and obviously we're not jumping out of the gym with energy, but I'm like, we look determined and ready to go. And it was like this cool moment. I'm like, this is what he's talked about since October, that we would get to this moment, and all that work we do would keep us ready to go for this, for the last game of the season. And it was a cool moment because I was the able to win. And he's so calm, like the game ready, put his clipboard down. I'm like, calm, always calm, no problem. And I know it was cool for him because it was a long season. It was a very up and down season, but we were able to get that city their first championship. It's really cool.
That's crazy. You don't necessarily view Brazilians as too calm either. Usually they're up in arms and kind of in your face and stuff.
Yeah. He would do that. Don't get me wrong. But in the match, he was very here. He was looking at his iPad, but he knew he definitely had that mode, but he knew for our team, it was like, he had so much trust in us and we had so much trust in him that we would just go out and play. The only time he would need to get like that is if it wasn't our day, we're not showing a lot of energy or we're not giving 100%, then he's going to come down and come after us. But he didn't have that problem very often. I think that second year.
Sounds like no load management over there for St. Isaiah in your championship season.
Oh, no load management, but it paid off for us, so we'll take it.
Then, moving forward to your last year, you come into a Częstochowa team who finished 15th of 16 teams in the Plus Liga the year before. And for those who don't know, the Plus Liga last year had 16 teams. This year it's at 14. Normally in European sports, you have one team that gets relegated. Last year there was 3. So the stakes were even higher. And I remember we did a preview show and everyone was kind of being like, we don't really think that Częstochowa is going to be able to make it. The only person they really have is a Batapur on this roster. They've got Quinn Isaacson, who's coming up from France. We don't really know how he's going to be able to be. And then you come in and make a huge difference. You guys also have Patrick Indra, who becomes all of a sudden skyrockets up to being one of the best opposites in the world and leads the league in scoring. Mm-hmm. What was it about that team last year that was so special and that you guys were able to really catch the entire league, by surprise?
I think I feel like this is the same answer over, but we just had a good group of guys that wanted to win for each other. And I think when the first game, I remember the first game of the season. We played Suwałki, which is now a couple of my teammates. We actually brought 3 guys from Suwałki over. They were like one of the only teams we didn't beat that year, which is kind of funny. They bring it up every so often.
Really? That's wild.
Yeah, we played them at our place game 1, and we lost. And then game 2, I was out, and I think we played really well, but I think we lost them again. But like they bring it up every so often. That was the one thing we couldn't get by that year. But I mean, Ibadipur is just a world class. He's a world, he can do everything for you. And he gave me so much confidence as not only as a player, but like as a person. He was one of the guys that I really, really got close to, him and Indra. Obviously, Indra, I played against him 2 years in France. He played with Pat Gastrid and some of the American guys. So I got to meet him. He played with Joe. So I met with I got to meet him a couple times beforehand. So we had a good idea of each other going into it. And then we just had a lot of younger guys trying to make a name for their stuff. You know, and you have that, and you can all sort of come together, not make it an individual thing and make it a team thing. Like, hey, if we win, they're all going to look at us a little bit differently. You'll never see a team play harder. You know what I'm saying? It's like Milad's obviously been everywhere, but me and Indra and Adamczyk and Lapella and all these guys, you know, we're looking to get that big shot like Milad had and Milano and Belhaftos. And I think Milad also wants to get back to that you know, type of team. And I think you got also guys want to do that, you can do it together. Like you'll fight for every shower. It's the start of the season was everything for us, and we just kind of rolled with it for as long as we could. And then the second half of the season, you know, we were starting to level out, playing good volleyball. But at the beginning of the season, man, we were roll, and it was just how to be paced. Always became easy. You know, not that teams excelled, but the mistakes feel less important, and the kills feel like everything. You know? And that's a fun way to play when you have the guy driving to enjoy playing it.
Was there something to the fact that you were playing, you know, again for another Brazilian coach and Cesar Douglas Silva?
Yeah, I think it was they were a little bit different. I will say Cesar had a little bit more fire. He was a little bit more of the I think the idea of a Brazilian coach, but he was also a guy that I had a really good relationship with Rubinho, so that I knew I could sit down, and he also knew Rubinho. I feel like everyone in Brazil knows Rubinho. But I was able to sit down with him and have the same conversations I had with Rubinho, which I think was really good to be like, okay, what do we need to do to take the next step? Can I do something? Do I need to change my serve? Do you want me to try this? And when you have those built-in conversations, when you know you can trust him, if he can trust you, it's really easy to just there's a lot of stuff because over here, you don't really have setting coaching, if that makes sense. You know, it's like you got your head coach, like for example, Rubinho very specialized in defense and service. So I worked with our second coach, and we just had a game plan, really. So sometimes it's not all teams, because it's kind of on an ISI yourself trying to figure out what's going to work, how to figure it out, what's to improve, you know, and coach to define what to help you with. So having a coach that has a lot of it's that could come to you makes a lot of easier reason about to hear about from what I do.
For sure. You know, you mentioned your next game match coming up is against Gdansk. Mm-hmm. You're gonna be playing up against Joe Worsley. Mm-hmm. Does that give you a little bit more fire? Obviously, playing up against another American, it sounds like you guys are, you know, has some type of friendship. Does that give you a little bit more fire that you're going to go toe to toe with another American guy across the net?
Oh, for sure. I think it'd be any American guy. Really, I get fired up when I play. It's Ron, it's Ty. You know, it's like it's just fun to play those guys because one, it's nice to see them, but two, it's like, you know, it's business. You know, that's why it kind of makes fun of really. Me and Soji had a little coffee and hang out as a whole sitting at Segovia. But he knows it and I know it. So once you get on the court, you know, it's all good. So, but yeah, me and Joe have had a good relationship. You know, I played against him and just hurt me. Played against him in France. So it's always good to see it. But it was good to him. He's done a good job with that team. You know, it's like these put the team together and they battle. They take us to points. So it's not going to be easy with a long grip for us. So it's trying to stay healthy and put in this edition to have this set tag. But it'll be a lot of fun. He's a good player. It'll be fun to scout against this. They'll be asking a lot of touch to get out it.
What's the preparation process? Because like in the Plus Liga, as I mentioned, there's so much parity. And like night in, night out, that's honestly why I love watching the Plus Liga. I've already said it before, but like, I don't know what's going to happen on like a night to night basis. Like there's so much stuff. So how do you prepare mentally for that kind of match when you go into it?
Yeah. This is one thing we actually talked about this more before the practice. We always do like a review of the game. we prepare for every match to be a tiebreak. We prepare for every rally to be long. But that's the mentality we go into games. It's like, so you get there, you're not surprised by it, you're not tired by it, you're not overthinking. So that's actually one of the main things Jade talked about it a lot to us. He was like, we prepare for long time, we prepare for long hours, and that's what we want. Because we just want to keep putting pressure on the team, keep putting pressure, because we have enough belief in ourselves that we're not going to be the first one. So I think that's the mindset going into it. It's going to be a long time. And if you play really good volleyball, you can get out of it at 3, it's safe. If you go in there thinking it's going to happen in 3, you go to 4, we go to 5. It's a little bit of a mind game for that.
Oh man, like there's nothing worse than being in a match that like you're up 2-0 and then you're leading in a third and maybe the team like squeaks in and grabs that third from you and you're like, oh shit, we have to go to a fourth now. And like you can see that slide happen with teams where all of a sudden they switch and then you've been reverse swept.
Yeah. Especially because you get 1 point for going to tiebreak. So you're down 0-2, and you win one. It's like we're one set away. So even if we lose, you take a point. Just like I said, it's you do it. So you give them like a breath of fresh air, and they're gonna take it. It's it.
And I mean, hey, you guys are pretty good at going to tie breaks. You guys have the most 5th set matches in the league so far, with 4 of your 6 matches going to 5, going the distance. Looks like that attitude is working out early nicely.
Yeah. We're hoping we can keep that mindset, but turn these into 4 or 3 setters hopefully soon. But we'd rather have this mindset now, prepare for them, and keep taking these points, and then just keep developing our game of the swing.
Understood. Fair enough. Now, what do you think that without putting a number on it, what do you think the aspirations are for this Zaksa team here? Like, is like a top 4 finish feasible? Like, what are you guys in the locker room talking about? This is where we think we can be at the end of the year.
Here's what I'll say: with the history of Zaksa, everyone in the club believes we can win it. We can win. That's the mindset that we have as the club. That's why this club is so successful. I think, like, the mindset from top to bottom, not just the players, not just the coaches, but from the owner to the GM to everyone around. The belief is that we can win it every year, which I have loved, because obviously it seems like play that through. They don't have that exact in mind. They've all been in a little bit different situations. But here it's like we believe, that we could go with Linder. Was catch fire at the right time. Liquid volleyball is trust you guys around me. So our belief is that we can go to the final, just win the whole thing. But it's this year, like you said, it's gonna be really difficult. So for instance, there's so many good teams playing at a high level, and it's making it even harder to jet at some good shoot. You look at that year, you look at the news, and you're like, we just like, even last night, again, or 2 nights against Volleyball, like, I thought we played a pretty good we played a good match. But you take Bootley out, and Bootley out of it, you take South Boot out, and Sabul, it's like, what is it at? It's like you die, and that's the other mental part of it. It's like, it's not going to be a starting 7 that then is a championship. It's going to be the 14th player plus the tap. Like, it's going to be a whole team effort. So that's why I think we can do it together. We can win it all together. That's what we believe. That's who we are.
I mean, especially that Resovia outside group. You got Shalpuk, you got Fashina, you got Lueti, you got Chebul. And there's so many guys that could be starters out there for that Resovia club.
Yeah, that was the longest scouting report I've ever had, because we had to go through like 9 attack groups that we could possibly see. It was just like the outsides I like studying all 4 outsides. It was the longest video session I've had in a while, just because of the 4 guys we could see on the outside, and 2 guys we could see on the oppo, the 3 libero. There was a whole process.
Did it mean a little bit more for the club, considering that, Shoji, Janusz, and Poreba, all Zaksa guys for last year, but like especially Janusz and Shoji were key pieces in those championship years? Did it mean a little bit more for Zaksa and like the GM and the owner that, you guys got the win against Resovia on Wednesday?
Well, maybe. We never really talked about it. I think the one thing that we have done a good job of, at least the club's done a good job of, is like, we've got a job at hand. No matter who's on the other side, we got to go do our job. So maybe deep down it did for them a little bit, but for us, with the players, it's the guys around them, it was just like, we was happy to see him, but it's a different team with a new year, so we got to find a way to find success to get full team. But maybe the GM and the owner had a little smile on it. So definitely had a fun. Deep down, maybe had a little bit. It didn't sound like they're going throughout the week.
Fair enough. If I can ask, how long is your contract in Zaksa? Are you locked in for multiple years, or is it just a 1-year contract?
I have a 1+1.
You got a 1+1.
Yeah, we'll decide. I think the decision's made in the next 6 weeks. So I think maybe in the next month we'll start sitting down and have conversations. But I have a second year on it. We just have to decide goals and do it.
Fair enough. How wild is that in volleyball? Because, coming from North America, like there's an off season and there's like the free agency window. Mm-hmm. And, talking, you've got like Kawhi style tampering that happens throughout the regular season. But in volleyball, like right now, there's big rumors going on about some of the biggest players in the world on where they're going to go next year. Mm-hmm. How wild is that for you as an athlete where like you are not even halfway through this Plus Liga season? And if you don't take that second year in your contract, you have to go out and start talking to other teams right away.
Yeah. It's wild. It actually boggled my mind my first season, because I remember my first season, I didn't have a +1 with St. Nazaire, and we were in February, we were playing good volleyball, and they were like, hey, they want to bring you back. And I'm like, do they want to see like the results? They're like, no, they're going to lock you in for next year. And I'm like, okay. So then I signed that. And then like, and it's a blessing and a curse in the sense of you can have an idea. Okay, this is what I'm doing next year. But the curse could be like, for example, I mean, I was super happy to go to Czestochowa. I would have taken that over anything else I had. But there were some guys who didn't have a contract throughout the St. Nazaire. We ended up winning the whole thing. Those guys, like, they signed other places where maybe if they would have waited and got to see us win the whole thing, they could have got some better opportunities, So it's a little bit tricky. Last year was very wild because I played 6 games before I started negotiating contract with Czestochowa and some other teams. There was like 6 games in. So it was like,
wow,
that was pretty crazy to me. And it's like, that's a hard thing as a team to do, is especially when your team's changing a lot and everyone signed in December, being on the same page that we have a goal at hand to keep, grinding it out and then go for that goal. Because, if you have half the team leaving, half the team staying, some guys might check out early. It's like trying to just keep everyone locked in and going for the goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to be like, if you're already signed to another team, to have that like grass is greener or grass is going to be greener mentality. So if a few things don't go your way, you might just start checking out and start looking towards the future. Is this the discussion that like you guys amongst players have? Like, do you think this is harmful for volleyball?
I don't know if it's harmful, but I just don't feel like it's right. I feel like there should be a window. I think there should be a free agency window. I know these but here's the difficult thing about it. The reason the free agency window I think works is because everyone's under the same budget. So when everyone's under the same budget and there's a window, you pay them what you have. But when you have France who has less money than Poland and I don't know, Greece who might have less money than France, it's like people got to take some stabs at players early to hope that they can get them before someone else gets. So I get the idea of it and why it works like this, but I think it would be way more fun if it was like, all right, from January to March, you have 2 months to make all your transfers, and I don't know if that month, the reason they do that is because then it's called those 2 months. I don't know how the volleyball is going to look. Maybe everyone's going to be thinking about their contracts and stuff like that, but it definitely is so weird. I think there's got to be a better way to do it. I don't know if the free agency window is it, but it definitely makes for a very interesting conversation in the locker room. It's like, oh, you see blank is going here. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's already rumors about different guys going to different teams and whatnot and changing leagues. And it's wild. Like I think it's crazy. I honestly don't like a few years ago, I remember Paolo Gonu was playing for Imco Conegliano in the Champions League finals against Vakifbank, and everyone already knew she was going to Vakifbank next year. Like it's a wild scenario where you can be playing against, it's like almost like going on a double date with your future girlfriend and knowing that you're gonna break up with the girl you're with now to go date the next girl who's across the table next year.
Yeah. And it can get tricky. I'll tell you this, because it didn't work out this way, but I've heard stories that it's worked out for other people. But I was very close to signing in Tour instead of going to Chester. Like Tour reached, I was speaking with Tour a lot earlier than I was in Poland. So Tour was interested. They didn't know what they were going to do with their current center, but they were saying, hey, we're going to make a decision this week, but we think that you will be the guy, like, we want to offer you. And I was pretty set on going to Tour. It's another big historic club in France,
Yeah. And arguably the best club in France.
Yeah. And I think they got a deal done with Koric, and I was like, oh, no problem, and I ended up going to Czestochowa. But if you go back, if I would have signed the tour, we played them in the championship. So imagine me, if I win the championship, I'm a champion winner, but then my team doesn't get to play in Champions League next year. But if I don't win the championship, then the next season I get to play in Champions League. Like, it's just like this weird. I noticed having other players, but it's like those guys have to be put in such a tough position.
That's a wild thing. I didn't even think about that part of it for you in that situation of like, how'd you sign? You're like, if I throw this now, I can play I can guarantee myself to be in the Champions League next year.
Yeah.
Whoa, that is wild. Like it's crazy because like I know, like I think it's the worst for the relegation teams. The teams who, like Johannes Tila, who is on playing for Olsztyn this year. I think he set it at Saint Nazaire like a year or two before you, like right before you did.
This is that story. Yes.
And he had signed to go there thinking that they were going to move up into Ligue A, but they didn't win, and he had to go, even though he was like a top flight setter already, had to go set in League B. Or you've got teams like the teams coming up, like it's who's the team? Cuneo, for example, in the Italian league, and I think it's the same thing for Helm as well. Like they've got a couple of guys that are kept over from the year before, but you've got all of these guys who like they signed a bunch of other second division guys who didn't even help them get there. Like you don't even get to bring along the guys who helped you get promotion into the top league.
Yeah. That's why I think it's so difficult for those teams that come up into the first division, that it's just, there's so much pressure to stay there, but you don't know what your budget's going to be, because obviously if you make that step, you're going to get more sponsors. It's just like such a tricky situation. And I mean, that's where I think Saint Nazaire, they signed a lot of those guys back, but me and Kyle didn't sign until like maybe May and June. So they found a way that it works out for them that a college center wasn't signed after graduation and NC was available. And they just were able to get those guys instead. And that at least saved us from the relegation. Then that second season, they were able to put all their eggs in a basket.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, they still kept a lot of those guys, and like you and Kyle left after that year. And unfortunately, they fell quite a bit in the standing. So I guess it just kind of goes to show how important you and Kyle were. And both of you went to the Plus League as well, too, and has had some pretty big impacts. Kyle going all the way to the finals, and you having the year that you did last year. This last year you suffered, was it a broken thumb?
Like a pinky, like a hand pinky type thing. Yeah.
Were you a little worried that you weren't going to be able to come back? Because I remember watching you when you came back, and you maybe weren't quite at the level that you were at the beginning of the season. When did you start feeling 100% again?
I think when we kind of got to the game against Olsztyn, which was a big game for us because we were still on the fence about the playoffs. It was probably like, I remember my first game back was Warsaw, and I was like, all right, this is going to be a difficult first game. But for me, it's like all I wanted to do was get back. I didn't care how it looked, and I thought I could use those other attributes of just being a team guy, trying to be a leader that could help us, and then I just do the best I can. And those guys were the ones that like, hey, we have your back, man. If you don't play your best game, we're going to bail you out, and you just keep being you. So they gave me a lot of confidence to come back. But those first 2 or 3 games, I was just slow. I was a little bit behind. My footwork was not there. So it took me a little bit of time. And then I think I spent that whole week just like, I told our coach every day, we're coming in early, we're set, we're moving. So like I was burning myself out before practice even started, just trying to get back in the swing of things. And I feel like I finally started to feel it again, and got to that Wolves again. I don't know where that was along the way, but then we won that one. Then we maybe we won like 3 of our last 4, 3 of our last 5 to get us in the playoffs. And obviously went against Germany, it still felt pretty good, and played, 2 good sets or 2 good matches, and just couldn't pull out that second match in 5.
I mean, it was still a fantastic season for you guys last year. It was a lot of fun to watch. And once again, it's just if anyone is out there, and if you don't have a VBTV subscription and you're wanting to get it, because like the Italian league is there and it's fun, but honestly, the Plus Liga, in my opinion, is the most entertaining volleyball because you honestly don't know what's going to happen night in, night out. There's, I think, like 11 really quality teams in the league this year, if not 12, and it's a lot of fun to get into. I mean, your old club, Norwich Czestochowa, is taking on Skradja Beltitov. It's starting up like literally right now. Can you give us a little prediction for that one? You think can your old team get it going again?
I still have faith. I talk to him every day. I actually went down to visit him because we had a day off or 2 days off or something, and I still talk to those guys all the time. So we and Milad and some of those guys had like a little dinner. They're gonna figure it out, man. I think it's just a slow start. I think they're just gelling, So, and they just fired their coach. I don't know if you saw that. So now they're going.
Yeah.
They're going with the second coach. So I think they can do it. Skra just plays so well as a team.
And they're doing it without Allen too. Like they're doing it without their big signing, which is a little scary.
Yeah. And those outsides, both those outsides, Chirigoy and Putron are just young, playing free. Like, and Lamatsky in the middle is a monster, So it's like
she's been having a monster season for sure.
Yeah, he's a monster. So it's like they put a lot of pressure on serve, and they just play really well together. I remember last season though in Skra we played really well. We won in 4. So I'm hoping that carries on. But I'm going to give it to my Czestochowa boys. I'll always ride with them. I'm going to say they get it done in. I don't know if they get it done to 4 because it feels like that first big win is hard. Like when you're struggling to find it. So I'll go Czestochowa in 5. I think they battle this out. They take their points. They get their first big win of the season, and then they hopefully can just carry it off from there.
Because, like, honestly, those are two teams who have kind of flipped. And for what I thought at the beginning of the season to now, I thought that Skra was going to struggle. I wasn't really sure about, their lineup and their roster and stuff like that. I was really high. It's just a hope given that everything that they did last year. You brought most of those guys back. You bring in DeCheco. And yeah, I was really high on them. So I think it's going to be be pretty interesting. How does it feel to have like a legend like DeCheco kind of fill your shoes? Does it give you a bit of validation?
It's cool. It's cool at the end of the day. But it's a situation where, I'm rooting for him. That's the main thing. I'm rooting for that team. I obviously, but it is cool. It's like, especially like going to Czestochowa, obviously like my first year and had a good year, and then replacing Janusz, and then the Czech replaced. It's kind of like a cool rotation of movement of, and even the guy before Janusz, I believe, was Trunici. So it's like the history of the Zaksa and Zaksa have been really cool, but it's like there's a lot of cool names that have replaced, like you said, the Czech going into my spot and watching him set my guys, So it's kind of cool to see when I turn it on.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about USA volleyball. Going back to that first year, 2022, like I said, actually, if you guys want to watch all of Quinn's matches from that 2022 Pan Am Cup where you played with the B team, they're all on this channel. You can check them out. What was the learning process like for you in that first year playing with the national team, joining the VNL guys, playing kind of like a backup role, more of a training role, and then getting to lead the team into the Pan Am Cup in Gatineau that summer?
Yeah, I think the big turnover was just like being a professional, like in college, it's like, it's a whole different beast. You don't think about that small touch, you don't think about that one set, and that was the one thing that was very like mind-boggling for me when I first got to the VNL gym was like every touch is quality. Every little rep, you have to get something out of it. There's no lazy reps, and that like working with Javier Weber as a setter was like it was really cool because obviously, at that time, I think the guys that did were, I think it was me, Christensen, Josh was there, and maybe James Shaw might have been the third setter there.
Yeah, James Shaw was the other guy on the roster then.
Yeah, but Javi was working with me a ton. Like, let's get you figured out here. Let's get you figured out here. It was cool to have that. I was very appreciative of it. But it just like every little detail is what changes matches. It's like that's what I needed to learn because, in college, it's like there were some teams you were just flat out better than. It didn't matter how you performed that day, you were going to win. But at this level, even in the Pan Am, it's just like, you got to perform at a high level. It's not always going to be your night. That was the one thing that Carson always kind of told us. It's not always going to be your night. There's got to be other ways that you contribute. Okay, Mike Stern's really not on tonight, but I'm going to be a great leader. I'm going to defend a lot of balls. Okay, boom. And we'll find ways to serve. So I think it was just really being a professional, understanding that every practice rep is important. But when you get in matches, like just have the right intention. No, don't turn your brain off. It's like, why did you set this? Why did you make this? Oh, I did it because of this. Okay, it's fine. We tried something, and not just playing really daily free, don't even think about anything. So I think that was the big turnover that I had that first time.
Now, obviously, that's, you go from 2022 to 2025. This year, a big change in the program. You've got a new coach in Karch. First and foremost, what's it like to play for Karch? Everyone knows he's the GOAT. Like, if there's one volleyball player, you may not have known pro guys, but everyone knows Karch Karai growing up. Yeah. So what was your feeling kind of when you found out that Karch was going to be the head coach of that program?
I was excited. I didn't even know that was a possibility. When we were talking with John after he got promoted, we were talking as a group about some potential names. I know some guys were like maybe in a committee, so they were kind of giving us some small information, but I just didn't believe he was going to switch over from the women's game to the men's game. So it was very shocking at first. But it was really cool because it's just like anytime you have a new coach, I think you can either look at it and be like, I like the other guy, or you can look at it and be like, I can learn a lot more. It's a different perspective. Each coach is something different. That's one thing I try to do professionally is take something, 1, 2, 3 things away from each coach I have, and then I can use it as a player, then use it as a coach when I'm done. But it was really cool, and he was very, very personable. He reached out to all the players probably like 3 or 4 days later, individual messages, want to know everything about our families. And he's a very personal guy. It's really easy to sit down and talk to him about things away from volleyball. And me personally, I've only been with him for less than a month, I guess, officially, since I talked to him in December. So it's like I'm already talking about things like asking my house, like different things like that. So it makes it a lot easier as a player when you have a coach like that.
And what was I'm sure there was some changes in the gym. You don't need to get too technical. I don't want secrets. I am Canadian, so yeah. I could be sharing them out here. But what was the vibe like in the gym? And I definitely saw that there was a massive growth from USA in the VNL to the USA that we saw at the World Championship. So what was that like growth process for you guys like in the gym week in, week out in Anaheim?
Yeah, I think those first couple of weeks, it's like everyone's just trying to get used to do. The only returning staff member we had was Javier Weber, and he was working with the setters. He was kind of our offensive guy my first 3 years, and he was moved to the defense, and we added in Luca. And so we had Luca work with him, and so Javi it was kind of a lot of new things, So I think guys were trying to get a little bit used to it, comfortable with it. Coaches the same way. But the thing that I loved about Park, he has so much fire. And he's also he's a calm guy. He's sitting there, he's watching practice. Like that one point that's going to win you a match, that it's that high ball off the net that you leave 10 feet off, that he's going to die. You see the reaction, see the passion of it. And it's nice to see because, I think that's why I like playing for Johnny a ton because he's so passionate. When you have a guy like that, it's really easy to get passionate with him. It's fun to play with guys like that. So I think the main thing was we just got comfortable with him. He got comfortable with us. And then we started to implement some of the stuff we had with the past, the last 3 years with some of the ideas and some of his ideas. And I think it took 2 or 3 months to put those things together. I think in the World Championships, you got to see a little bit more collective of his style, some of the other styles we had in a team, not a group. So I think that was the big turnover.
I mean, there was also so much turnover with the personnel out there too. Like so many of those starting guys that we would normally see playing for Team USA, the Andersons and the DeFalcos and the Russells and the Jayshkis and all of these guys. What was it like, especially like a lot of those guys are kind of the B team guys that you've been playing with over the years. What was the mentality of those guys coming into the gym, in May, early June as you're getting ready for VNL?
Well, I think there was a lot of fire in a good way. Like we understood this was good opportunities for some of these young guys, So I think a lot of the guys tried to capitalize on it, just play good volleyball. And it was cool for me because, like you said, it was a lot of the B team guys, which I have really good relationship with. So I felt a lot more comfortable. I kind of stepped into, my first 3 years, I was just one of the young new guys kind of in the team. And this year I got to take on a little bit more of a role of being a little more of a leader with the group, which was really nice. And that's what Karch expected and wanted of me. And it was really cool for me to kind of be a part of that. So, we still had Eric, we still had Dagger, we still had those guys who have all this experience. But from a day-to-day perspective, it was really nice to have that because those guys, I think, had a lot of trust for me and I had a lot of trust in them. And we just kind of all put our belief in Karch. And I think you kind of saw that as the summer went on, was like we were just connecting really well as a group. And but yeah, you got to see a lot of new faces. I think it was, at some moments, I think fans obviously, they wanted to see the old faces. But I think it was kind of cool for them to see some new guys that hopefully they see a lot, some more of them and you get to, learn about the guys that maybe you didn't know about before,
For sure. I mean, especially for you, like you know, coming from the MIVA, I'm sure that like did you played at the same time as Micah Ma'a? Or no, he played slightly before you.
No, Micah is 2 years older than me, so he was.
There was a little, yeah.
He was 2 years older than me.
Fair enough. And then obviously Micah Christensen, like everyone knows who he is. Was there ever a point, maybe earlier on where you're like, oh shit, like I'm not only am I on the same team with these guys, but technically I'm also in competition with these guys. Like if I want to play for this team, if I want to start, if I want to be a guy, I need to be better than them.
Yeah. I think that moment happened more my first year when I really wasn't in much of a run. Like I was there to try and develop, to see if I could get to this level of what they were expecting of me for the future. So I think there was kind of like, oh, this is really cool. And then this season, I think was the second part you said, where it's like, the one thing that's really cool about our group of setters is we're very tight. We understand it's a competition, but I think if you were to ask one of those national team guys, like the setting group is we're always giving different feedback to each other. So this is my 4th summer with Christensen, my 3rd with Maha. So it's like, I've dealt with these guys for a long time. We've built some good relationships. So it's like a good group. When we're doing setting drills, it's like all we're doing is throwing different ideas at each other. So I think it's really good, but deep down inside, we all 3 of us know, in 3 years, and also I want to choose Rowan in there because Rowan had a great summer as well. So Rowan, I've had, I think the 2 summers, I think he was on some of those young teams or the Pan Am teams with me, maybe 1 year. But like, we all understand, like there's only 2 guys that are going to make the Olympics in 2028. So we're all good buddies. We're all going to help each other. But when it comes to the competition part of it, it's game on, So that was this summer for me, was realizing that I can compete at this level. I've now done it in the Bundesliga, hopefully still do it in the Bundesliga. And now I can show you I can do it from the national team level as well.
All right. Is that a goal of yours to compete in LA in 2028? Is that something that's on your mind, maybe in the back of your head as you're training both in Poland and in Anaheim?
Yeah, 100%. And I know it's not going to be easy. Obviously, Micah, and all 3 of those guys I later are fantastic players, but that's what makes Team USA so strong. It's like we've got that depth, and that's what gives us the advantage when we're going to play against these big teams. We can bring guys off the bench, kind of like we're talking about Rizovia. You bring guys off the bench, and they're difference makers. That's why Karch doesn't call them bench players; he calls them game changers. So yeah, that's one of my goals, and it's in the back of my mind, because right now my job at hand is to take Zaksa as far as we can go, and you kind of have that as your big goal, but you don't think about it. You have small goals along the way. If you can accomplish those, you'll give yourself a chance at it.
For sure. I'm curious to know, like, as you said, your 5th year at Ball State, you were just kind of thinking USA, you're going to go be a volunteer assistant at Kentucky. How has your perception of volleyball changed in, the short 3-4 years since you've started playing professional volleyball?
A lot.
And for the national team, I guess.
Yeah, a lot. Just because I didn't play the same game I played now that I played at Ball State. I didn't have half the ideas, that I have now as I did at Ball State. So it's changed a lot with just like small technical stuff and things that can't happen in a game or in a practice, and things that if we can be good here, it's going to help us in this area, So it's like, when you take a step back and you have all these great coaches that you're around, I'm very fortunate to be with the national because I get Karch in the summers, and now I have Gianni in the pro season. Like I'm
yeah. You kind of get like a couple of legends there. Yeah. Like obviously Karch is the GOAT and the top of legends, but Gianni also an absolute dude. Yeah. And you and Javier Weber as well. Like you've been extremely lucky for some of the coaches that you work with.
Yeah. So literally for me, it's just taking in all the information with them and just trying to be good, have a good relationship with them, just not even on the court, where things I can bring them up. I've already talked to Karch, so a little bit more about the women's game, just because I'm not as knowledgeable with it. So get him giving me some ideas, randomly we'll sit down for lunch and I'll sit down by him, just giving me different ideas. Like we've talked about having these conversations of, okay, how serving? That's always the big difference maker. Men's, there's so many misses, women, not as much. Where's the risk to reward, So those conversations are nice to have because you're just trying to keep learning, always learn.
What's the biggest thing you've learned from Karch so far?
I think the biggest thing I've learned from Karch so far is the way you react on the court, your emotion when you play, everything like that is everything. kind of like what I said before, when you're not playing well, and when guys look at you and he has this idea of it's palms down. And the idea is like, it's okay. Everyone, because when palms up, it's like, what's going on? It's your fault. His idea is palms up is you're blaming someone. Palms down is like, it's okay. Let's keep going. And I think that's the biggest thing. And that's another, that it's so funny because Gianni and him have the same idea. So I've heard it from Gianni as well. But it's like your emotion, how you react on the court is everything. The second you put your head down, the other team knows that it's a shark smelling blood. It's like, that's the idea of it. So I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away from him. It's like, you're going to have your great games. You're going to have your games you don't play very well. But if you could just keep your emotion in check, you can keep being the leader you want to be, keep being the person you want, like that is going to keep you in matches. And then someone's going to help you out because you don't always have to be the one that bails out your hitters. They can bail you out sometimes. So it's nice to have that idea and just always just keep that positive fire, I guess.
It's funny that you say that there's a lot of similarity between Karch and Gianni, because to me, I've interviewed both of them post game, and Gianni is always chill. He's always just kind of like, even like win or lose is just, kind of like, yeah, like we're working on it, Yeah. I've seen Gianni post match, like after we do the interviews, and he's sitting out behind the arena drinking beers with his coaching staff.
Yeah.
And whereas Karch is, buttoned up and he's Karch and he's so professional all the time. So it's interesting you say that they have kind of the similar approach, because to me, from my point of view, and when I get to speak to them, they're almost polar opposites.
Yeah, I think you're correct with that. I think away from the court, they're a little bit different, but on the court and the way their philosophies are pretty similar so far.
Now, you before you said you were going to go coach. Is that something that's still on your mind? No, obviously not right now, but in the long term, is that something that you would love to be able to go back to maybe in 10 years, 10 something years after your done career, come back to the US and go coach a team?
Yeah, 100%. Coaching was honestly the passion I fell in love with at Ball State, because I started coaching a high school team as an assistant under Steve Stondell for my first year. And then Steve ended up stepping down and we brought another coach and he kept me along. So I was coaching high school while I was doing it. My mom runs our volleyball club in Chicago. My dad coaches college football. My stepdad was a state champion baseball coach for years. Now he's coaching. So my family is just surrounded, just coaches everywhere. So it's kind of in my blood a little bit, but before I got really involved with the national team, I always used to say, I can't wait to coach. And I still can't wait to coach. But now I've gotten to a point now that I have, like I said, some goals that I want to go after. But I'm super excited to get the opportunity because I feel like I've learned so much. And I feel like it's cool for me when I had those experiences with it. When I was coaching with high school, it's like when you would have a girl try something and it would work and she scored, she turned, you gave you a high five. That was so cool to me. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I helped someone. I helped someone out. And I think doing it, then bringing it to a higher level of it, where it's not just the volleyball, you're trying to help them be a better person. I think it's just really cool to me. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Ted Lasso.
Oh, I honestly think it's my favorite show of all time. I think I'm going to rewatch it just because TikTok keeps feeding me all of these clips and I keep on forgetting how good of a show this is. And I grew up playing soccer, football, whatever have you. Yeah. And I love that aspect of it, but just all of these little things and how he communicates. There's so many life lessons and it's so funny. It is I think it's my favorite show ever.
I've rewatched it probably 5 or 6 because everyone who I'd see, I'm like, I'll watch it with you. No problem.
Yeah.
I'll watch it with you. So I've seen it. It's one of my favorite shows ever. So it's just watch it like that. And also it's I tell the guys, some of the European guys, some of my teammates have watched it. And I said, if you want to know how it feels as an American coming over and living in a different country, you're going to get to experience, watch this show because it's about an American who's going over to England. It's kind of but at least they speak English.
Yeah.
That's the big difference. But still, It's that for us, or for me, I related to it so much because obviously I want to be a coach, but he was doing what my first year, this is what I have to do, So it's it was a cool full circle moment. So yeah,
I hope they're calling you a little bit less of a wanker when you're in France and Poland and stuff like that. Maybe giving you a little bit of respect given the results you were bringing the teams that you're playing for.
Not yet. I haven't heard it yet, but let's delay that as long as possible.
Have you had any like negative interactions with fans? Like I would assume based off the success you've had at the three clubs that you've played at, that most interactions with fans have been pretty positive.
Yeah, they're just. I mean, it's in France. I think that there are some of the best fans in the world. I mean, we sold out every game. They're waiting in line in the freezing cold before we even arrived at the gym. Like the fans at St. That were unbelievable, and the fans at Czestochowa it was like a new, kind of like same thing wasn't stated there, but it was like a new experience for them having all this success. So they were very appreciative of it. And the Zaksa fans, I didn't know how it would be, like they've had all this success, and I've come here and they are just like super welcoming, win, lose, or draw, they've got your back, which is just really nice to have. So I haven't had much like negative comments really. You lose one game or two games. The athletes don't, when you have one or two games, you just don't need to look at your phone. That's like, you're good. I'll turn it on maybe the next day. But when you play well, you're like, oh, let's see what they said. So it's like, but you don't listen and do it. You have a job at hand, and they're not the ones that are practicing 6 days a week, lifting, all this stuff. They're just the ones supporting you.
How much do you see that like that disconnect? Like I'm not sure if you're aware, but like with Volleyball Source, we have a Discord server. And, we've got fans from all over the place. And of course, our Polish fans are real passionate. But, Stephen Marr, who is a member of used to be a member of the Canadian national team. I know his mom is in the Discord. And when I had him on the podcast this summer, he kind of talked about, you've got a lot of, there's a lot of fans, I guess, who have no idea what's going on. Is that kind of fair, where you look at some of the mentions and some of the stuff and you guys have no idea what's happening in the gym. You have no idea what our systems are like. You have no idea what some of these guys are dealing with, whether it's like physically or like personally and emotionally. Like how much are you able to just kind of like read that and be like, whatever?
No, it's easy to be, because it's something that like kind of like I said, my family is coach, so they've kind of told me like, hey, stuff like this is going to happen. You just got to block it out. That's just how it goes. But it's funny because as sports fans, we do it with our own team. Like my heart team is the Chicago Bears, American football. It's my diehard.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. We found a way this season. We're playing okay. Like we lose, I'm like, how could we lose? But you never know what's going on, But for me, it's like a lot of the stuff I get Kędzierzyn on Instagram, and it's like in the comments, I'll look at it, I'll laugh, and I'll put it away. It's like, and it was actually funny. Funny to bring this up. I had a comment a couple days after we lost it all hot. I had a comment in one of my posts, just laying it on me about national team and all that, whatever. And then the next night or the next week, we played Estrembia. We went 3-0. I won the MVP, and some Zaksa fan commented on that thing and said, like, "Did you watch that match?" So I was like, that's what I was talking about. I was like, that's what I love it here.
Yeah, I do think that Poland has the best fans in the world. Just from maybe Brazil too, but I think that's from what I hear. It's mostly on the women's side. But to me, it just seems like there's very few matches that are empty. It just seems like every gym you go into, it's packed.
Yeah.
What is your, and you can't say like either Czestochowa or Zaksa, but what's your favorite gym to play in Poland?
My favorite gym to play in Poland. I would say probably Gdansk, where we're going this week, because it's huge. I mean, they've hosted a lot of VNLs there. Is
that the Ergo Arena?
Yeah, I believe that's what it is. It's I mean, it's like 13,000. I mean, it's huge, and it's like it looks like a basketball arena. It's legit. And the game we played last year, I think they have 12,000 seats. Maybe they sold out 11,000 of them. Like it was packed. Like it was a really cool experience to play there. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anyone, but I don't think so. That one was probably the coolest. The other one that they just redid, it was in Olsztyn, where Tilly's at. They just built it. It's a little bit weird. The seats are all dark. It's all black. And like the lights, so it's like a very unique setting, but it's kind of cool. Like all the lights are around you. That's what it feels like. So those two gyms I've had a lot of fun at. Obviously, maybe it's easier to say because I've had success in those gyms. So maybe that's why they come a little bit easier. But
fair enough, yeah.
Itself are very cool. Like it's very nice.
Does everyone hate playing in Zawiercie?
Yeah. I think so. I think that, well, the fans don't, because the fans are awesome in Xavier. I mean, they travel.
Yeah.
Their fans are amazing. You know, they travel everywhere. Go for it.
Well, so I was just gonna say, it's like from an entertainment point of view, from like a lover of like, you know, sport culture.
Yeah.
I would love to see a match in that Xavierci gym. Like, I would love to be among the fans right behind the court, and everything is choreographed, and they, you know, the other team is serving and they turn their back and all of this fun stuff. But it looks like a high school gym. You know, it's got that low ceiling. It's super small. The camera on the sideline is like going straight down because it's just like straight up against the wall. Like, how difficult is it to play in that gym?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's just so different. And what they do such a good job of, every time we play, or I played them in Xavierci, it's like when they dig the ball, they know the perfect height. You know, it's like they know the perfect height. You're just gonna sit right there, and we dig the ball and it just barely grazing it. Like, and I remember last year in Petrova, we lost like 5 points due to just that ceiling. And as a setter, it's a little bit tricky because the ceiling is slanted, so the depth perception is a little bit weird.
Oh,
okay. And then next thing you know, it's in your hands, and you just kind of have to react with it. So I told Kyle and Ron, I'm like, it's difficult. And it's like the fans, like you said, they're very, you know, you're behind the line, they have the newspaper. So they're either looking at it, reading the newspaper. Like, it's a really cool experience. And they have like a camp that they do before. So I like playing there. It's just from the volleyball standpoint, it's brutal.
Yeah. It looks like it has a vibe. Like, it looks like you can feel like you're playing. Like, you know, you're playing, then like the fans are right on top of you for those matches.
Yeah. And they're loud. It gets rocking in there. It's fun.
What, other than that, is there any stadiums you don't like playing in? Like, is there any stadiums that are really difficult to play in due to fans or other like technical things?
No, I think most of them are set up pretty well. The gym in Belhatov is unique because it's got like a yellow and blue court, which is a little bit different, you know, like a bright yellow, but it's like not difficult to play in. Ystrembia's got their fans like on the court, kind of like Xavierci, so they can get pretty loud. Like when we play them in the playoffs, you know, when you're behind them, they have they don't have a ton of court space when you're getting ready to serve. I mean, they're like right here, you know, it's like, so it's cool, but I don't think there's any other gym that has any sort of like trickery or anything like that. They just have, every team has just different fans, whether they have drums or they have whistles or they're just screaming.
That's so sick. It's so different from what we see in North American volleyball. It's just a world of difference.
Yeah.
Do you have any interest in playing in other countries, or are you just pretty locked in and playing in Poland right now?
No, I think I think you, as an athlete, I mean, it depends on where you're at. I always kind of keep it open. You know, I've always dreamed of living in Italy, or like spending a vacation and just doing something in Italy, which I've never done before. So that would obviously be a country that I would love to play in. And Japan's going to open to 3 foreigners here in the next year, I think. So that'll be a really cool opportunity for, and I think some other positions. I think it'll be similar, you know, to what Poland and Italy do, or maybe it's a setter outside middle, maybe it's an opposite, you know. So I think they'll kind of expand like some of these teams do. So I've already talked to TJ and those guys. I'm like, hey, if you need a setter, you know, but maybe not next year if it all works out here. So, but I think those 2 countries would be really, really cool to play in. But I really liked it in Poland. I mean, like you said, it's very fun. You know, the fans are awesome. It's like, it just feels like you're a professional actor. You know, it's like, I think other countries, it doesn't always feel like that, you know.
Are you getting like recognized on the street and stuff like that? Like, are you signing autographs out there? Like, is it hard? You know, you're playing few bad games. It's like, I don't want to go to the grocery store type stuff, or?
I don't know if it's that extra. I will say in the smaller cities. So like in Saint Nazaire, it happened a little bit, and in Chester Hobo was a little bit bigger. Maybe I'd run into someone at a restaurant. Here in Zaksa, it's been a lot. I mean, it's been like, I went to, it's called Media Expert. So I go and I get they can deliver my dog's food there. So I go and I'm waiting there for them to bring it out from the back storage. And, you know, you see people whispering in the background. I'm like, oh, I think I know what's happening here. So at Media Expert alone, I've only been there twice. I've had like 4 or 5 pictures, maybe I signed a Media Expert shirt. And then like restaurants, I've definitely had like some kids come up, and I think it was like me and my wife went somewhere, or maybe it wasn't even sit down place, but we ran into a couple fans. It's just, the city is small here, but they're so passionate that like anytime they just want to say hi. They really, and they know for me that I don't speak Polish. So they're always like, hello. And then they was like, I'm like, oh, here, I got that. I can figure that out. So a lot more here than I had at other places.
Has your Polish gotten better? Like, have you learned like a few words and a few phrases, or do you just kind of get through by with your English?
I get by with my English. I have a couple words. I have a couple of words. We play a lot of poker on the bus, so I'm picking up the numbers a lot quicker,
Okay.
But no, I picked up just like a couple words that I honestly don't even use much. Not the problem, but every team I've been on, like in France, we had a Brazilian coach. Well, obviously we worked in English. Same thing in St. Louis. Then we got to the Czechoslovakia, Brazilian coach who worked in English. Gianni speaks a little, like, small amount of Polish, but we work in English. So it's like, I haven't gone anywhere where the coach is the same nationality as the team, and I might have to pick up on some stuff. So I pretty much when I hear something or I want to ask them, I just ask the guys if they like kind of teach me with it, and they kind of do the same thing back to me with English a little bit. Like my second setter, we've had a good bond of like trying to learn from. I mean, they all speak good English. They all like, oh, sorry if you don't understand. Like, your guys' English is great. It's like
Europeans will always do that to you. Be like, oh, I can't really speak English all that well. And they speak perfectly coherently, using like big words, complex sentences and stuff like that. It's like, you guys speak better English than, a lot of people I know.
Yeah, I was going to say, some of my Chicago guys that have a super strong accent, I'm like, I understand you better,
Yeah. I know. I like when I was working for Volleyball Canada like years ago, 2012, I got to take Kuhek to the hospital. He needed to go get some stuff done. And I remember him telling me, he's like, oh, I can't speak English that well. And then spoke to me in English all night long. And I was like, bro, like, come on. What do you mean you can't speak English? It's as we wrap things up here, I want to ask, okay, if you can, like, yourself as well, but if you can name us like a starting 7 of guys that you'd want to play with, who would your starting 7 be? Like 2 outsides, an oppo, 2 middles, and a lib. What's your starting like 7 or 6 in including yourself? Of current guys.
Yeah. I'm gonna mix this up of like good players, but guys I've always wanted to play with. So I'm not gonna go one round. So Mickey Leto is one guy that's on the top of the list. He's just, I've talked to Gabby about him. He seems like a great guy, and he's a beast. I mean, he's unbelievable.
He's the unicorn. He's the unicorn. That's what he is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Probably the other outside, I've kind of gone back and forth about it, but I would love to play with Ngape and just let him go be him. Like just the freedom he's got. That would be so much fun to have a guy like that on the team.
I feel like you would mesh with his style as well too, because you run that fast offense, run like a fast ball, you've got good hands and you've got good location. You could just kind of sling it to him, and the two between that, just like tuck it up for Micheleto and run that fast stuff, and like inside, outside, push him to the pin, draw him in a little bit of stuff, move around on the pipe. That would be so much fun with Ngape.
Yeah, he would be easy to play with. It was. He plays a similar game to like Jordan Ewart, which is what I had. Like literally any time to kind of flick it to him and he'll do some stuff with it, which is like it's easy as a start when you have a guy like that, and then he could just score you big points when you need him most. In the middle, it would be Robert Landy Simone for sure. I mean, he's another guy I've to Gabby about. Gabby's gotten to play with all the players I wish I could play with. So he would be one. He's everywhere. I would set him 100 balls if I could each game. Second middle is tricky because it's funny on my all-time list. I always put my guy Spencer Elder on there because he was unbelievable. He was a beast. But I think I've gotten to play with him, so I would probably go with
who do I want to go with here?
Oh, I would go Flavio in Brazil.
Oh, sick.
I got to go against him this summer in a scrimmage match with the national team, and he's everywhere. I mean, he's unbelievable. He close blocks like I've never seen before, and his arm is just like, you could set him literally anywhere here. He'll find a way to get power on the ball. It's incredible.
All right.
Oppo. I would probably have Nishida behind because the speed I could run with him, because we ran a pretty quick ball with Indra last season, but because he's so like lengthy, and he had to give him a little bit more height. But with Nishida, it could literally just be this easy off my wrist ball that would make my life very fun, you know?
Yeah. You could set that to the third red on the antenna and just pop it over your shoulder. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
And he'll go get it. And then libero's tricky. I'd probably go with Grubenikov and just let him dig defense everything. That's probably he'd be my libero. Because I've also talked to Coach a little bit about him too. The stories he said, I'm like, oh yeah, he'd be a fun one. And obviously I get to work every summer with Eric. I've never played with Eric, but I get to work with him every summer. So it's fun playing with him. But I think for a guy that I've never played with, it would definitely be Grubenikov.
Yeah, I mean, you're already working with one of the best liberos of all time, so you might as well work with one of the other ones.
Exactly.
In Grubenikov, man, that would be sick. Honestly, that would be a fun team to watch.
Yeah.
Especially with those middles, like Simone. I feel like Simone is another guy that you would mesh with too, because he just kind of goes up there and you could just fire it into his zone and just watch him mash balls.
Yeah, and he's always up. That's my big rule with all of my middles. If you ask any of them, because all in the weird situations that make no sense at the middle, all I'm doing is looking at their middle. And if he's not in front of you, I'll throw it to you and you can just do this. And boom, it's an easy point if we go on to the next point. And he's always
that's why you and Spencer were so good together too. Like the gaps that you were able to find with him, especially with that lefty on the 31 ball or anything on a push, you're just creating unnatural gaps and guys aren't expecting it to come off of his left shoulder like that.
Yeah. And it's almost the reverse, because, when you have a normal right-handed middle, when you get off the net, that gap is something you're comfortable with. But when you have a lefty, it's the back, which no one sees very often. Usually when the ball is exclamative, you take one step to 4, but now you have to actually wait because the guy's behind you. So now do you take a step to 2? So it really confused defenses last year, because we would just keep them on this route and they had to choose. Because if you don't go here, he's going to bounce the ball. And if you stay with them, then we're one-on-one with Jordan Ewart or Lorenzo Martinez. We'll win one of those battles.
Whenever he was stacked in 2 on service eve, did you ever just run a 61 with him? Just quick back?
We never at a game. We actually did it a lot in practice, but we never did it in a game because, like you said, we loved that chi and double chi route because, when you run the chi and you're on the right hand, it gives the middle blockers a chance that they're not in front of it. But with the left hand, you get beat a lot. You can't reach over. You have to step and then get into that zone, which you're not able to, you can't do that.
At that point, you need the right side or the setter to be help blocking in and reaching in. And especially if you're running it fast for Ewart on the outside, you're just chucking it over and they have to stay there and just getting stuck.
And they're stressed out. That was, and then obviously the whole thing, you have Ensing behind, which is just a workhorse. So it's that all been for me was so much fun to run because we just did so many different things, moving pieces. It was a ton of fun to have.
When you're running an offense, what do you think is more is something you focus on more? Is it more speed or accuracy?
Accuracy first, always. You have to put your hitters in the right position. Now there'll be certain players like a Jordan Ewart. I think TJ also does a really good job of this that can make a lot of things work. But the first things first, you got to put them in a good position to score the ball. Even if you beat the block with speed and it's not a great stat, and they have to tip it over, or even they try something, they make an error. It's just, you're not putting them in the best situation. And at this level, especially, that's, I guess, another thing I've learned with it. The hitters are so good at this level. You just got to trust them to be that, and then you can have the speed to it. So that was the big thing my first couple of summers with guys like Ron and Tommy. It's we got to get the ball up there first before we add that speed to it. So accuracy you've got first, but then once you have the accuracy and you can have the speed, that's where your offense can become lethal.
Are you on the outside? Are you aware of the guys? Are you giving them different heights of sets? Depending on who's out there, does it change guy to guy?
Yeah, pretty often. Maybe there's been a guy or two that have similar balls, but usually every guy's very unique. But the other thing I take into account is what is their miss zone? Where is their area to miss? So for example, Jordan Ewart, you would like to miss him inside, but you can actually miss him wide because he has the left hand. So you can miss like I do in my head. If I'm gonna go fast, I can push him through the zone. He can cut it off or he can let it go. But for a guy like TJ, there's not many zones to miss. But if I'm gonna miss him, I want to miss him a little bit inside because he can always cut it off and go 4-4. And if I push him through the zone, he can bounce that ball down the line. So you kind of keep an idea of what is their miss zone. Are they good tight to the net? Are they better off the net? Are they good inside the net? Are they better? And then you can kind of say, okay, I'm going to aim for perfect, but if I know I'm in a weird situation, I have that zone to fall into, basically.
It's so wild to hear you talk about this, because it just shows like how much more goes into setting than the average person realizes it, because it's so much of a chess match, like this is why I think that like the closest sport to volleyball is actually American football, in terms of how you're running that offense and how like you're running it through like a quarterback or a setter, because not only are you aware of like what your guys like and where their zones are, where their missed zones are, but you're also looking at the matchups on the other side and what kind of defense they're running and how their block is reacting to you. And then it's constantly evolving and changing throughout a match as well.
Yeah. Now I just got to hope that setters get paid like quarterbacks, and we're really in business.
Unfortunately, I don't think anyone in volleyball is getting paid like even a third string quarterback in the NFL.
No, sadly not. But yeah, that's how my dad always described, because he was a quarterback. He was a quarterback, coaches offenses. He was in the NFL for 2 seasons with the Green Bay Packers, which obviously was great as a Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was
wow.
The analyst for.
So what? How does that happen? How does a guy whose father played for the Packers end up being a Bears fan? Or sorry, a coach for the Packers end up being a Bears fan?
We both were born in Chicago, me and my dad, and he's a Bears fan. Plus, he has to understand, just like I think in our profession of, I don't know, maybe it's different, obviously, but he knows his profession, like whoever's paying him, he's got to be support. So you can't be too loyal to your team you support when you're in that profession. Like, for example, maybe some of these guys have, like, I don't have it. Like, what's your favorite team in profession? Like, I have the teams I play for, which are great, but just in case, like, I'm a diehard Luve fan, and then Kędzierzyn, I'm like, Kędzierzyn's a big rival. It's like you don't want to have that decision in your head of it, So for him, he stepped it very open. But I told him, I'm like, hey, Dad, I'm rooting for you, only for you. I hope the offense scored 50 points, but I'm only rooting for you. The team, let them happen, let it happen. But I'll root for you. That's about it. And then I think he was 1 year there, and now he's at the University of Iowa. So now I have a breath of fresh air on.
Fair enough. That must be a little bit better. I mean, I'm sure Rogers has caused you guys some nightmares over the years.
Well, we have him this week. He's in Pittsburgh. He's playing Pittsburgh on Sunday. He's not supposed to play, and then he came out and said that he's going to do everything he can to play. I said,
he loves playing against you guys, eh?
In Chicago.
Did you ever play football? Like, did you ever play American football?
Not for very long. I actually hated it. My dad was the one who told me not to play because I was too young. I was undersized. But I really wanted to play, but I was just like, I was not as big as everyone else. And I jumped on a in-house football team. And at this level, these coaches are just like parents. So they were having me run against these big kids, and I'm just get beat up. I'm like, I'm done. Like, this is not fun for me. And my dad always gets so mad because he tells me that I would have been a great quarterback because the way that I throw, I can still throw it, whatever. But he's like, your mom let you start too early. I was like, you improved on it. He's like, yeah, I did improve on it. But it's my favorite sport. I mean, I still follow it. I follow it just as much as I follow volleyball. He usually calls me, after they're playing. He gets to talk football. He gets to talk football out, basically. So it's still my favorite. Anytime there's a football around, I'm like, try to see if anyone wants to play. Over here, it's a lot harder. But in the USA gym, everyone wants to play football around.
Okay, was Cooper Robinson like a high school quarterback? Because I saw him in Chicago, and he drops dimes. That dude drops dimes.
Dude, I don't know if he was. These California kids can really sling it. It was actually impressive.
He had like the hips. He had like it looked like he was everything dialed in to be a quarterback, because he was slinging it when I saw him in Chicago.
He might have been. I roomed with him in Brazil. And we talked a little bit about, like, I don't remember him telling me he was a football player. I know he played breathes volleyball growing up, but I don't know if he was a football player. We also, at the USA gym, I will say, we have the small football, which is a lot easier to throw. But he does. Another guy who throws it well is Champlin. When I'm throwing with Champlin, you can hear it whistle a little bit, but Champlin's just like an athlete. Like, Champ kind of does it all.
I won't lie, I became a big Ethan Champlin truther this year. Him playing for Lumberg last year, and this year as well too. Also, real quick, it is Durin's up 2-0 in 22-20 22-21 now in that 1-versus-2 Bundesliga match. If you're following that one at all, yeah, against Lunenburg. So that will be they'll both be at the top of the league. I think with one loss, because Duren lost to Gießen. I was trying to watch it and it was supposed to be on Twitch, but they didn't have it on Twitch. I was going to watch it while we were chatting here, but it was geo-blocked for some reason. So Bundesliga, figure that out. I want to watch you in North America here. Why can't we do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I became a big Ethan Champlin truther this year. I was a big fan of. Oh no, sorry, he was at Gießen last year.
Gießen last year,
Lunenburg this year. But yeah, just the way that he plays the game, I really liked the way he played for Team USA last summer.
Yeah, Champ is he works harder than anybody, and I mean he's the first one in there. He's one of the last ones out. He's very fun to play, and he was actually my first year in the gym was his first year, but he was like a volunteer BNL player. So a lot of my reps that first summer was to him, because it's like I would set Ron and those guys for warm-ups, and then we'd go to the other stuff. We kind of split core, and I would get some more reps, but it was mainly with Champ. So I've been setting him for now. This will be my 4th or 5th summer going into setting him, but he's just like worked his tail off to get to this moment, and he's just always so composed. You don't see the emotions change. It's kind of what Karch talks about. You don't see the emotions changed, and he had a good summer, and I hope he just continues to kind of ride this wave, because he's a good player, man.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like you guys over there at the USA, if you could bring all of those guys back, you have a pretty stacked left side of the court over there. And there's a lot of competition out there with like Cooper Robinson and Champlin, and of course you and a few of those other guys. Like it's going to be some interesting battles going on in your gym in Anaheim over the next few years.
Yeah. I mean, if you would look at it, the guys return. I mean, obviously we don't know all yet they're returning, but I mean, each position could have like a really unique, fun battle, which is always that for me. Like the 2024 summer, when I was we were working together and they were getting ready for they were like, hey, we're announcing the Olympic team this week. It was like the most fun I've had at a practice, because it was so competitive. Like when I was in the drills, it was great. When I was out of the drills, it was almost even better, because I'm like, you're getting this is like the highest level of volleyball you could watch, and guys giving everything at 9 a.m. practice in California. It was awesome. Like it was like so cool to see, and I think there might even be more battles than there was that summer, which would be even more fun.
Honestly, I think so. Like the depth in the USA program right now, and especially like in the past, they haven't really had an off year like this, especially with the shortened quad last time from 21 to 24. Yeah. So like you've got a lot of different possibilities. Like we talked it with like, the different setters you guys have in the gym. Down the middle, you've got a lot of different looks and different guys. You've got 3 solid oppos, especially if Matt comes back there as well too. So yeah, there should be some fun different looks there for Team USA down the road.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. That's what it's all about, though. That's what we always talk about. It's like this is the fun part of the job, is getting to compete for it and battle for it, and especially doing it with people that like you enjoy being around. But it's like you have one job, you have one mission, so it's like. Putting everything into it and going for it. Has there
been any talk of like, you guys are hosting the Olympics in 2028? Is that what you're building to? Like, has Karch already put that on the docket for you guys and being like, we're the hosts. This is a sport that, that we invented, and that we haven't won since 2008. It'll have been 20 years since the last time the USA has won a gold. Is that something that you guys are already aware of and training towards in that gym?
Yeah, I think so. I think the players have obviously talked about it. Honestly, what I think Karch did a good job of, it's like, hey, that's kind of like we talked about, I guess, for the Olympics as an individual. It's like that's in the back of our mind. That's what we're going to get to. But we've got a job that we need to do each summer. We've got to get better here. We got to get better here. And I bet you as we get closer, there'll be more conversations about it. But right now, I think his goal is to get us all on the same page and get us playing together as a team. That's why I think you saw so much. I mean, obviously, some guys decided to take a break, but I think that's why you saw so much change in each week, roster to roster. He's like, we're 4 years away or 3 years away. Like, let's see what we got here. Let's put some pieces together and figure it out.
And not only that, you guys are the only team qualified right now, right? Yeah. Like, you guys know that you'll be playing in LA 100%. Yeah. And you're the only team in the world that has that safety blanket. But then you also have the added pressure of having to play at home and being Team USA at home in California in the sport that you invented.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak for myself that standpoint. Like, if I get the opportunity, I'm super like, I feel like for me that's not pressure, that's like opportunity. You know, it's like I maybe that's a different way to look at it, but for me, it's like that's an opportunity to play in front of your fans to show, like, especially because I mean, obviously in California, probably the most popular. I mean, it's more popular than Chicago, for sure, Florida. So it's most popular. It's like you get to show your fans what you've been working on for 4 straight summers. Like for me, that sounds like that's more opportunity to me than pressure. But I think I get what you're saying. It's like, you know, especially we haven't gold medal since 2008. So there's this pressure. No, it's to go out and play our best volleyball and do what we do, and then we'll see where we're at when we get into the I guess out of the pool play.
Yeah, I mean, it's not pressure necessarily for you guys, but I'm sure that's pressure for Karch. But I think if there's anyone in the world who knows how to deal with that pressure, it is the undeniable volleyball GOAT. That's I don't think you guys could ask anyone to have anyone better to be able to lead your program going forward. And I mean, that's coming from a Canadian too, so that should mean a little bit more.
Yeah, he's ready. He's super excited, like every day. And I mean, he's always watching volleyball. I mean, it's impressive. Like after we played Brazovia, like he was the first guy to send me a text. I think even before my mom. Like he's just like, yeah, he was on it. And but like he's so invested into it. That's why I know we're in good hands. And as a group, we just got to stay together and put a lot of trust in him, and then kind of go along the way together.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Well, Quinn, I really appreciate you coming to chat today. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. If you want a bit of an update, your old team, Norvid, lost the first set, but they are currently, it went from 4-0 to 6-5 for Czestochowa. So you got a bit of a battle in the second set going on there between those teams. So I mean, that's what I'm gonna go watch that one right now.
Yeah,
and to go check it out. But I appreciate you coming on and chat with me today. Best of luck on Monday against Gdansk. It'll definitely be a match to watch. If you guys want to watch Quinn play in the Plus Liga, the only place to do it is VBTV. I don't even get a kickback for. I'm not even promoting anything. I'm just saying that's where to watch it. And you guys should check it out. And best of luck throughout the rest of the season, and maybe we'll connect with you a little bit down the road to check in and see how things are doing a little bit further on in the season. And if not, probably see you throughout the national team year.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks for having me anytime.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks a lot, man. Have a great one. Have a great weekend, and best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.